Some of the best yet. Some of the best yet. They bite like that, like that, like that. Big bass, double digits.
Kick up the fire right on top.
Low fall blast off, time to get some cast off. Doing this here for years, get my pass on. Stream mask on, putting in work. Snap back, got me focused. Never settle on a shirt. I miss.
Just walked away.
Did he take a break?
Yeah.
Good for
Him
him.
and Kim are going to go get lunch, I think.
Oh, okay, good. He needs a break.
Works his ass off.
Yeah. So how you been, man?
Good, man.
Good.
How we living?
Living large, man. Yeah, loving the Fred Hall Fishing Show. Came all the way from Arizona, flew out this morning, did a couple seminars, doing my thing, representing.
Still SoCal at heart?
Still SoCal at heart. LBC all
That's
the way.
what's up, man. LBC. How we doing? We got Rachel killing it on the tank.
Co-angler right here.
Oh,
She's
snap.
shooting for Angler of the Year. I'm shooting for Pro Angler of the Year. See if we can double up this year.
You know, for our friends that aren't from the West Coast that may not know who you guys are, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
So I'm Joe Uribe Jr., Bridgeford Fishing Pro.
And I'm Rachel Uribe. I'm Bridgeford co-angler.
And where do you guys fish?
So we fish the FLW Coastal Western Series for Bridgeford and all of our sponsors. And right now I'm currently sitting in 8th place in the standings, and Rachel's sitting in 13th.
Look at that.
Nice.
It's in the genes.
It's in the genes, man. Doing our family thing and representing on the West Coast and having a great time doing it.
Awesome, awesome. It's been fun following you guys from wherever I'm at. So
We follow you as well on Facebook, man.
keep up the good job.
Yeah.
That's funny because that's probably the place where we're least active
Yeah.
is Facebook. It's crazy. Like now, this is going on YouTube.
Okay.
And that's kind of where we've been focusing on recently. And you should probably, if you have time, like especially on your long drives and stuff, check it out because I want to start doing more of these dialogue videos with guys like you. You know, it's an interesting format because this platform lets us go into like really in-depth like conversations and talk about things that most people don't really ever get to hear.
Right.
You know,
More intimate stuff. Kind
yeah, the behind-the-scenes stuff. You know, not just the grip and grin. Look at these fish. Look at my trophies.
Right.
You know, people want to understand how you guys got there.
Struggles. They want to hear the
Yeah, they want to hear the journey. You know, they want to hear the story behind it, because everybody's got a unique story, and you guys have an amazing one, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'd love to spend some time. I know it's tough because you guys are always, you know, out and about and in Arizona.
You're the one that's all over. We're staying put, man. We got our 9-to-5 jobs.
I hear you. You're still here.
I'm still
right?
here. Yep. Still doing nursing, so I just have my 3 events.
Okay. Well, you know, I think right off the bat, I'd like to hear your perspective on how you successfully incorporate what you learned from fishing big baits in a tournament environment and situation, and your experience obviously from the back seat, you know, especially because so many new people are obviously jumping into a co-angler spot before they jump into a pro spot typically. You know, just the basic things that people should expect, you know, and be aware of going into an event that may be overlooked. Because like even when I joined a club tournament, right, those things that were just assumed that you should know about, like nobody ever told me, like bylaws and this and like etiquette, you know. It's the simple things that kind of keep, I think, people from really like jumping into an event like that.
Also, too, it kind of, she can incorporate trying to get more women involved in it.
Absolutely.
From a female perspective in a male dominant sport.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Cool. You guys got time now? Jump into some of that stuff? Okay, let's start off with you. Yeah, I mean, like, give us a little background on like the last couple seasons, because I know a couple of those tournaments, the big bait, and you know, big is relative, obviously, right, has played a pretty big role in your finishes.
Well, you know, I mean, from my experience growing up here in SoCal and the big bait state of world, I mean, you know, growing up throwing, I mean, big baits, we're talking, you know, Castaic soft bait, Optimum swim baits, when they were in their prime, baits that exceed 4, 5, 6 ounces, but trying to incorporate that in a pro event, multi-day tournament, is pretty hard. But a lot of guys won't take risks like that out on a circuit like that. But the mentality, knowing how productive it can be, but knowing when and when not to do it. You know, conditions, time of the year has a lot to do with it. For instance, Havasu. I've won 2 in a row at Havasu, just took 8th place on my 3rd try there. So, you know, the swim bait has been effective in all 3 of those events. So a lot of guys, you know, fishing was tough. What are they going to resort to? Finesse tactics, right? I went from one extreme to the other. I threw a swim bait in the morning, catching pre-spawn largemouth that are staging, not planning on catching a limit of them, catch a couple key fish in the morning, then go to the finesse tactics. So incorporating the swim bait mentality into my perspective when I'm fishing an FLW tournament has obviously helped me succeed. Won 2 FLW events. I've got an Angler of the Year title in 2015. A lot of that I can't contribute to my finesse tactics that I grew up here locally from SoCal.
Awesome, man. So, you know, with that being said, it sounds like decision making is a huge part of that, right? Like you said, when to pick it up, when to put it down.
I mean, how many days that we've been out here locally chucking and winding swim baits? How many times have we been out and never got a bite all day?
I would say more often than not.
More often than not. But the barometer, the cloud cover, the weather conditions, you know, the time of the year, all that plays a factor. You know, ambush areas, how to present your swim bait. A lot of these guys don't know. It's more than just chucking and winding a swim bait. It's knowing how to present your bait in the right key areas at the right time. Puts more fish in the boat.
Man, savage.
Savage.
Watching you just dominate that season, that was savage. You know, is there anything here like at the performance booth that you would kind of suggest to guys that want to dip their feet into, you know, fishing a bigger bait? And by bigger bait, you know, like what size bait were you using when you're doing well in those 3 events?
6-7 inch bait.
Okay, yeah, so not that giant 4 or 5 ounce stuff.
We're not trying to, you know, we're not trying. We are matching the hatch, but we're not pursuing trout eaters. We're pursuing bass that are eating gizzard shad. But the gizzard shad in the Colorado River system, they'll get to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches. But, you know, so when presenting a bait like that during pre-spawn, the big females are coming up and staging. They want to get one big meal before they go do their thing. And that's when we pull out a bigger type swim bait, like a 6 or 7 inch gizzard shad style swim bait, whether that be a Kitech, whether that be an S-Waver, you know, whether that be a homemade bait, you know, but something that emulates that, presented in the right place at the right time, can put a key fish in the boat. You know, and again, we're not going out there trying to catch a limit. You know, it's a do or die thing on a swim bait, but I can incorporate that into my technique, into my day presentation during practice or during the course of the event when the conditions allow to capitalize on that. And that's decision making, making the decisions on the fly during the tournament, not after the tournament.
Man, I love it. I love it. Now, I think what people are gonna have to realize is how much time you've put in prior to a tournament setting, right? To understand when those windows arise during a tournament and what conditions, you know, you kind of want to be aware of, right? It's just piecing that puzzle.
In a pro format situation, you know, there's no perfect conditions. You're always going to get a curveball thrown at you. So, for instance, in 2015 at our FLW event that we had at Lake Havasu, the first 2 days of that event, you know, I caught some swim bait fish, but a lot of fish on finesse baits. But the last day, man, the weather changed, the barometer dropped, the cloud cover came in, the storm front was coming in, those fish triggered, the bigger fish moved up, and I took advantage of that. I was sitting in the top 10. The worst I can finish is 10. I put it out there. I made the decisions on the fly. I caught a 9-pounder first thing in the morning. You don't do it unless you don't try. I put it out there and it happened. It could have went the other way, but you can't look back at it now. I took a risk. It happened. I'll do it again if it presents itself. So.
Man, it's amazing. It was so fun watching you just do your thing, man. You know, you've been doing it a long time, brother. And you know, we've done some of these segments with Mark and talking about, you know, the early days that you guys had with the triple trout back in the day. And
you know, those are the fun days where we can just go and have fun and let loose and catch a bunch of big fish. And you know, fishing the Pro-Am events, it's a whole different mentality. You have to be consistent. You have to be versatile. And you know, back in the day, everybody's like, man, Joe Jr., man, he's a swim bait fishing guy. Now, when you look at it, I'm an all-around type guy. I'm very versatile in my tactics, but I always never forget my roots.
That's it.
When I started
Back to the
swim bait
roots.
fishing, back to the roots, man, where I got started. Swim bait fishing helped build the Uribe name in the fishing industry, and now look where we're at. You know, Angler of the Year 2015, over $500,000 in FLW, utilizing those tactics that I learned from my roots here in Long Beach.
Damn, straight back to the LBC. That's dope. And where can these viewers follow your story as you continue to fish the trails? And you know, you're on, what social media outlets are you on, and where can
I'm
they find
always
you?
on Facebook. You can look me up, Joe Uribe Jr. I'm also a part of the Bridgeford Fishing Team. We have our own Bridgeford Fishing Team page. My sister Rachel Uribe and I are part of that. You can follow that. You can follow us on our Costa series. You can follow our promotional events and just be a part of that. You know, we appreciate all the support. Again, we don't forget where we came from and where our roots from where we started. You know, we've been very successful and very blessed due to the glory of God, and we always give Him praise all the time because God is always good.
Man, proud of you, brother. Killing. All right, Rage, you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, there
Let's-
is good.
Let's hear it from support. Got support system over here. Let's hear it straight from your mouth. You know, you're actually living the dream. You know, you're traveling with your brother, it looks like, right? And fishing these FLW events all throughout the West Coast. You guys just finished at Havasu,
At
right?
Lake Havasu, yeah. Our
Okay.
first event on Lake Havasu.
And where's the next one?
Our next event is Clear Lake.
Nice.
Clear Lake,
Okay,
yeah.
so that's a little bit of travel time involved there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I mean, I get to travel with my brother, and we get along well. And, you know, we
I would hope so.
Yeah, we
10
fish
hour,
talking the whole way.
okay.
And, you know, and joke around and stuff like that. So.
I hope you guys will be watching yourselves on YouTube
Yes.
and this awesome series of interviews. So, yeah, just like we talked about earlier, you know, I think we'd love to hear your perspective from the backseat as a co-angler and as a co-angler that's been doing well and with consistency. You know, what are some things that you can touch on for somebody that's looking to up their game from the club level or the local regional team tournament level and want to go fish a pro-am? You know, whether you're a male or a female, young or old.
Right. For me, the things that really work for me as a co-angler that's made me really successful is I usually watch what my pro is doing. So if my pro is like flipping a tule, isolated tule patch, and he's flipping the inside, I'm gonna work the outside tule line. So for me, I'm always wanting to see what my guy's doing, throwing something a little bit different and covering a little bit different water than what he's throwing. And also being very adaptable. As a co-angler, you have to adapt. You know, we're not in control of the boat. We got to go to wherever our pro is putting us and just to adapt to every situation. And personally for me, I like to bring 4 rods, which cover my basics, like my worm rod and 2 reaction rods and then a multi-purpose rod. Because before every event, we're paired up with our pro, and I'll just touch bases with him and ask him, you know, what do you think you're going to do today? Are you going to go up in the river and you're going to flip more? Are you going to throw reaction? Just this way I have a little bit of an idea of what I'm going to do for the tournament. And then that multi-purpose rod, it's fishing. So we never know what's going to happen. You know, our guy can have a game plan and it may change up, but you know what? I have that rod that's ready for anything that could happen.
That's awesome. 4 rods. I would have never guessed. It's hard for me to leave the house without like 10 or 15.
And that's the thing with pros. I mean, they can have, that's their house on the water. You know, they got all their tackle, all their gear. Co-anglers, we just have a small amount. Sometimes we get a back locker that the pro will open up for us. Sometimes we don't. So I just keep it simple with a small bag, 4 Plano boxes as well with, you know, my smaller plastics and then another one with like my bigger plastics and reaction baits. And then 4 rods, because the more rods you have, the more tangled you're going to get up,
right.
Especially on those runs.
So that's probably making you a lot more efficient, right? And you have to actually stick to your decision making.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Probably simplifies things to a degree, right?
It does simplify things, and you know, honestly, I'm a nurse. I'm a hospice nurse, so I don't get much time out in the water to practice. The only time that I get is our official pre-fish before each event, and I only get to fish 3 events every year, sometimes 4 if I do another circuit. But during that practice, that's when I have to bring my A game. I gotta, you know, fine tune my skills. I gotta fine tune on what I'm gonna throw for the tournament. and being out there with my brother, practicing with my brother, we're always critiquing each other. You know, you got to do this a little bit better, or, you know, maybe throw this line. And so it's a blessing, you know, being out there with my brother. We can, you know, critique each other, and there's no hard feelings. Sometimes, you know, I put more fish in the boat, but but it's a good time. And, you know, honestly, I was blessed. You know, my dad raised us fishing, and I remember my brother got the fishing itch a lot sooner than I did. And, you know, my brother would have a fish tank in his room, a huge fish tank, and they'd catch some bass, and then we'd bring it back home, and they'd actually study the bass. They'd study how they respond to different worms, you know, and it was awesome. I mean, it was awesome just seeing all of that, and, you know, growing up that way, and it's fishing. So honestly, if you're a male, a female, old, young, go out there and do it.
It's still fishing.
It's still fishing. The fish don't discriminate. All they care about is your techniques and how you're presenting, you know, your lure and your bait to them.
That's awesome. Yeah, is there any other like insight that you feel like people should know about going into their first co-angler event? You know, questions you should ask. You know, when you have your pairing with your boater, what are the things that you're looking to find out to help facilitate your preparation?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'll ask them if they're doing reaction or if they're doing worms, you know. This way I have a little bit of an idea of what I'm going to throw during the tournament and simplify it. And you just got to remember, I mean, it's fishing. So even if you don't do as good, like let's just say it's your first program and, you know, it's not shared weight, you're holding your own weight, and you don't do as good as you are expecting or wanting to do, it's fishing. As long as you're out there and you're learning during every tournament, you're always going to be building on your skills. And that's honestly what will make you more successful. That's when you have those expectations for yourself, and you will meet them because you're constantly learning. And as long as you're learning, and you know, it's honestly a mind game out there too. You know, fishing, it can get into your head and things just happen to won't go the right way, but you just got to keep that positive mentality, and any cast, anything could happen. So the tournament is never over till it's over, and you're going in and you're weighing in your fish. So just never give up, keeping it, you know, adapt to every situation, keep it really simple as far as what tackle you're taking out there, and just touch bases with your guide, just see what his game plan is going to be like, and go from there.
That's awesome. You know, I would argue that some of the best anglers I know are co-anglers because you have to catch these fish consistently regardless of who's running the boat and what potential terrible decisions they're making, right? You have to make do with the best of what's presented to you. And I think that breeds versatility and adaptability and just makes, like you said, makes you a better angler.
And you just have to be aggressive. Like you said, sometimes you're put in different situations. Well, be respectful. I mean, you know, the pros, they have the front of the front of the boat to fish with. We have the back of the boat, but in those, you know, situations where you don't really get, you know, a good cast or something like that, you just got to be more aggressive. Meaning, like if you have a little bit more of a water area to fish, just cast out there, you know, and be efficient in your cast and take that opportunity as far as being aggressive and making those casts.
Dang, that's definitely Long Beach style right there. I like it. All right, Rach. Well, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
You and your brother and your dad continue to inspire a lot of us here on the West Coast, and you know, now hopefully some of the other people across the country are aware of what you guys are doing, and it's special. You know, you guys are backing it up with performance tackle, holler. Pun intended.
And that's where it all started.
That's right.
Tackle.
Yeah, man.
Our custom rods, and you know, great group of guys, and just talking fishing all the time with them.
It's awesome to see you guys come back and touch with your roots. You know, at every opportunity, and
can never forget where you came from.
No, never lose sight of that. And as you continue, guys, to push and just dominate. So keep it up.
Thank you.
High five.
How's your ankle feel? It's throbbing. Hurts real bad. We walked so much.
Fred Hall was cool. Got to connect with you know, some people that we haven't seen in over a decade in some
years,
some cases, and you know, a lot of familiar faces, a lot of new people we got to introduce ourselves to and talk with that are following on YouTube. So shout out to every single one of you guys. But we're out. Tired, we're hungry. This guy's gonna actually go fishing, so he's got to go get ready and get prepped. Good luck.
Catching.
Oh, you going catching?
Catching tomorrow.
Man, you got big bass dreams.
Take little bass dreams.
Get it? Get it?
LRPs. Some of the best yet. Some of the best yet. They bite like that, like that, like that. Big bass, double digits.
Kick up the fire right on top.
Low fog blast off, trying to get some cast off. Doing this here for years, get my pass on. Stream mask on, putting in work. Snap back, got me focused, never settle on a shirt. I missed one and hit one, man, that's getting some. 2, 3, 4, 5 more, come on, that's ripping up. The way the bass smith sticking, the way my